Welcome to HAH British Cars. It's time to start putting the rear brakes together on the TR2, so let's get started. So I've got the rear backing plates on here. I should look and see which way these are actually supposed to be orientated. I think they're supposed to be one more notch that way, but we'll see. So we need to mount the master, or the brake cylinders, and also the adjuster mechanism that's here. And then eventually we need to bring the lines in. As you can see, all the lines are off right now, and all that as well. Well, as you can see, this is pretty grimy, and I'm pretty sure these adjusters are stuck in there. So I'm going to go shoot a little oil in here, and then I'm going to go clean this up on the wire wheel, and then we'll see if we can get these are actually wedges out. And as you can see, it cleaned up pretty well. So one of the things I've been doing is I had this piece of 3-inch plate. This is a scrap for another project. I use that to put it down into the slot at the end, and I use it to rotate it, break it free. So that helps a lot. So I'm going to put you down for a second and try that. Well, that worked really good. These things aren't nearly as frozen as the other one was. You can see that's coming right out. And this one is too. Now, I have to take a pair. Well, it's turning really slow. I'll probably have to take a pair of pliers to it to get it the rest of the way out. That's pretty good. We've got the wedges out now, and we need to get the threaded adjuster out, and that's a square drive. Now you can use an open-end wrench, but I have these 8-sided sockets, and they work so much better than a 12-sided or open-end. Matter of fact, this one is already buggered up a little bit from somebody using a wrench on it. Well, I touched them up just a little bit on the grinding wheel, really light. I want to just take the burrs off. Somebody really buggered this up. Looks like they used an open-end wrench on it. And it's tight, but it's turning. Alright, everything's cleaned up. Put a little grease on the threads. Drop that back through the hole. And it wouldn't have hurt them to make this thing a little bit longer. It doesn't quite stick far enough through that you can grab it with a wrench. So you can use a pair of needle nose pliers just to grab the edge of the square drive. Okay, so ran it back in, put the 2 wedges back in, and just a little light grease on everything. The adjuster hole, by the way, is 1/2-inch fine thread. This one right there, if you happen to need to run a tamp through it, as I did. And then this is ready to bolt back onto the cars. I did have to rotate these plates, so the correct orientation is plate to left and right, so you don't want to get mixed up. So the smaller slot goes to the top. That's the lever for the brakes. And this is the back of the car here, so it goes to the back of the car. And that's what it looks like in an original manual. So this does not seem to have a particular orientation. So we'll just put it on. A couple of new washers. And a pair of nuts. We'll just tighten those down. Alright, a bit of a funny angle so the final snug with a real wrench. The other thing to watch for is that the vibration can make the wedge pieces fall out. So just want to make sure those are in place when you go to put this back together. Go with this side facing the outside of the car, by the way. And that's back in there. Alright, so we'll go get the brake cylinder and we'll get that installed. So here's the wheel cylinder. And don't forget this is a TR3 rear end. It's an early TR3 with 10-inch blocky blades, I believe. So it goes through from this side, and make sure that this is the piece that the brake lever goes through. That's facing up. Do not put the brake lever on yet. And I will read to you from the instructions. Replace the distance piece, that's this short piece, between the cylinder neck and the back plate with the open end away from the handbrake. So that is like that. The two crank loops away from the back plate. So that's that orientation. Insert the spring plate. So the spring plate, you can see, has a slight curve to it, and it has the two little fingers on the end. Between the distance piece and the back plate, so that's inboard of the last piece you put on, with the open end away from the handbrake lever. So that is like that. The two crank tips away from the back plate. So that's the two fingers are facing towards the center of the car. Replace the handbrake lever. So that is this. Goes in. So and it fits into those two notches. So that's the real trick of this, is put the brake lever in last. I'd always put it in first and struggled with these forever. Locate the retaining plate, and that's this. This is the flat plate with the two notches. Open end towards the handbrake. So this is going in the opposite direction of the last one, and it's in between the other two. So that's like that. The easiest way to do this is to use a screwdriver and just tap it up and in. And you're probably going to push the upper plate down and the lower plate up until they click into each other. The last one just clicked in like nothing, but I wasn't filming that. So this one's trying to be a little more difficult. So use two screwdrivers. There we go. And you do have to get it lined up left and right. I'll try to give you a close-up on this. So here it is. So there's that first distance piece. The spring plate is the one you can't really see. It's just the top of it there. And that's the third piece right there that fit in between this one and the one down below. And you can see those two fingers came through those two notches. And that is in. So the only thing left now to do is to fit the dust seal. So that goes over the lever, down around it tight, and you want to get it underneath those plates. You just kind of work it in. There we go. And there it is. I also want to turn all the pins so they're parallel with the brake shoes. And they're next. Oh, don't forget to clean your brake drum, particularly the inside, the edge where the brake shoes are going to hit. These things all have had oil sprayed onto them so they wouldn't corrode when they're being shipped, probably across the ocean. Just using some brake cleaner, cleaning them up. And also use my square drive again to adjust them up a little bit. Use the brake lever to seat them square, so to speak. When it gets close, you'll start feeling the, probably hear that. That's because there's flats on the cone of the bolt. So as you get closer, you can feel it when it jumps over. So those are rubbing now, probably just a little too much. I'm back them off one click. There we go. And then of course, you're going to need to adjust them again after 100 miles or so because the shoes will beat in. So we'll clean that. It's had a chance to dry. This is not a Craigslist rebuild because we replaced everything in here pretty much. We have new shoes, new drums, new hardware, new brake cylinders. We did reuse the adjusters, but we took them apart, cleaned them up. There isn't really any reason not to reuse those unless they're somehow or another got buggered up. But these ones were, other than being a bit corroded, they were fine. And there it is. It's funny, I'm so used to seeing 9-inch brakes in the back of the yard that a 10-inch brake looks huge. I suppose it is significantly bigger. And there's our new cylinder, our cleaned up adjuster. Here's our handbrake lever, and same thing on the other side. So the only thing left to do is, now that these are in the correct position, we'll need to bend these flats back up to lock them in place. So I hope that you've enjoyed that. Probably do the front hubs next. Of course, we need to replace the races and bearings, and then brakes are very similar, but they are Girling and not Lockheed, but they don't look much different. So the front brakes are double leading shoe, so we'll show you what that is. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you next time when we do the front hub.